James Patrick Kinney is an American poet who wrote this poem in 1960s. He had written it very early in the 1960s. They are so cold from inside that they do not realize that by not helping others, they themselves will perish. The rich man just sat back and thought of wealth he had in store. Hello everyone, this is Shobita S. Aradhya, lecturer, Department of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, MYSURU, the Temple of Excellence. A warm welcome to you all. Today we will be discussing the poem The Cold Within by James Patrick Kinney. So let us start the poem, and before that let us see who is the poet, what is the theme, why is that title, and all those. This poem, The Cold Within, is written by James Patrick Kinney, and we'll see all these components today. We'll discuss on that, and we'll begin with poet. James Patrick Kinney is an American poet who wrote this poem in 1960s. He had written it very early in the 1960s. Although it was first rejected as being too controversial. So this was rejected because that poem was too controversial. It gained popularity rapidly after it had been read out at a council meeting of all religions. Once that was read out in the council meeting of all religions, after that the poem got the popularity. His inspiring poem, The Cold Within, was turned down by several publications for being too controversial. But before it was read in the council, it was rejected. Many people, many publications did not publish it because it was controversial. How controversial, that we'll see when I start the poem. Kinney had also written many other poems but never published them. He did not write only The Cold Within. He has written other poems also, but they were not published. It is his son Timothy Kinney who published all those, and he has the copyright, means he is the copyright owner of his poems. His poems are A Better World. The other poems of James Patrick Kinney are A Better World, A Glimpse of Pioneer Ways, My Newfound Friend, To My Children, Who Am I, and The Secret of Life. These are the other poems which are popular. Those are written by James Patrick Kinney. Let us see why he has given the title The Cold Within. The Cold Within, in us. The title of the poem Cold Within is symbolic of lack of warmth and compassion in human beings. What kind of warmth? Is it only the heat of the body, or the feeling, the warmth we give to the other people, the compassion we give to other people? Yes, here the poet is talking about the warmth, the feeling we give to the people. So how comfortable they are with us, how compatible we are with them. So that is discussed in this poem. 6 humans are caught against their will in bleak and bitter cold. So this is about 6 people who are caught in a situation where the weather is very cold, very bleak and cold, but none of them uses the wooden stick. Each one has. They all holding a wooden stick, but they did not use that. Why? Because of envy, because of jealous, because the other person belonged to the other religion, because he was rich, because he was poor. For all these silly reasons, they did not use the wood they had in their hand to keep themselves warm or to make it as firewood. They did not use that. What happened? They died. One has, due to racism, envy, arrogance, revenge and greed. These are the things which spoil a human being. If human being leaves all this, gives away all these from his mind, he can be a great creature on the earth. But all these are pulling him back. Because of these feelings, he is fighting with others. He is not understanding others' problems. He is in grief. So all these affect. So this poem is a lesson to us to give away these feelings from our minds. Then the cold is bleak and bitter because these 6 humans are not warm or friendly with one another. Why it is feeling more cold? Because they did not create that warmth among their friends. So they continued the envy, anger, or the greediness, okay, or the racism. They did not find that warmth of friendship among them. The atmosphere is bleak because there is no hope for anyone to survive. The atmosphere was bleak. There is no hope for anyone to survive. Nobody thought that they'll survive. That positive thinking, the optimism they should have had, they did not had that. So they did not have the hope of survival. They are so cold from inside that they do not realize that by not helping others, they themselves will perish. So the feeling of cold means not being friendly with the other people or not being good to the other people. That coldness in them, that gave the thought that if they help, they can also live. But that thought did not come to them. What they felt that why should I help the other person? And this thought only made them die in that cold. So if they would have thought, if I use the stick, the other also will feel warmth and we all can survive. Nobody thought like that. Everyone thought, why should I use my wood? Let the other person use his stick as firewood. And they did not think that they will also perish if they do not use their stick for others. The theme of this poem is, the poem deals with the theme of futility of discrimination or hatred that humans have against each other. Yes, we discriminate. We have hatredness towards each other. So this poem is having the theme of that discrimination and hatredness towards others. The 6 people in the poem can be seen as representatives of the whole human race. So here the 6 humans are represented as the 6 feelings a human has. Okay, so here it represents the whole human race. It is sad that these people are overtaken by the feelings of revenge, spite and anger to such an extent that eventually these prejudices lead to their death. Yes, this is the prejudice that I am rich, he is poor, I am black, he is white, or I am good than him, he is bad. All these prejudices, they bring the feeling of revenge, spite and anger in them. So this is the theme of this poem. Now we'll start with the poem. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in dark and bitter cold, each possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. Here 6 humans trapped by happenstance. Happenstance means here coincidence. The coincidence, what happens? So the coincidence brought all these 6 people in one place. 6 humans trapped by coincidence in dark and bitter cold. Where were they put up, or where did they gather? It was in the dark and bitter cold. Each possessed a stick of wood. Each one had a stick of wood, but or so the story is told. So this is the rhyme here. See the second and fourth line, also the third line rhyme here. Okay, so the rhyming scheme is A, B, C, B actually. So in some lines we'll miss the rhyming scheme in the third line, but always second and fourth line they rhyme. See here, this is a story which is told. He is narrating or he is writing the story. The poet has written the story as if it is a narration of a story by somebody. Their dying fire in need of logs, but the first one held hers back. For of the faces around the fire, she noticed one was black. Their dying fire in need of logs means here the fire which was put up in that place, bleak and cold place, that was dying. Each one had a stick with them, wooden stick with them. They would have used it to fire. But what they did not use. But the first one held hers back. Means the first one, she did not move forward to put that stick to the fire. She held herself back. For why? Of the faces around the fire, she noticed one was black. She noticed that among the faces in that place, among the 6 people, one was black. She did not want to help that black person. For that reason, she did not use her stick for fire. Okay, so this is how we do. We think by helping the other person or the person who is not white or who is not equal to me, I should not help that person. But the fact is, if we help them, we will survive. Or there will be a day when somebody else will help us. It is a saying that you give, you'll get it back. But here, what they are doing? They are not willing to give anything. So, what will be the result? They'll not get anything back to them. So, here the first one, she had a stick, but what she felt that among the 6 people there around the fire, one was black. So, I will not help that black person. If I put my wood or my stick to the fire, the black person will be helped. I don't want to help that black person. The next one looked across the way, saw one knot of his church and could not bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. Here see, the next one looked across the way. The next one, again he looked across the way. He looked at each faces, everyone there, and what he felt, saw one knot of his church. Means he got to know that none of them belonged to the church he was visiting. Means the person, the people there did not belong to his community. So what he did, and could not bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. Here birch means it is a wood or a tree with the hard bark. Okay, it grows tall and its bark is very hard. So what did he do? He did not use his stick of birch. He did not use that because he did not see anybody of his community. Why should I help the other community people? With that thought, he did not use the stick. The third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use? To warm the idle rich. So now it was the turn of the poor person. The third one sat in tattered clothes. Tattered means here the rags, the worn and torn clothes. So he was not rich like the other people. He was a poor person. He gave his coat a hitch. Means he gave it a move. He wore it properly, or he gave it a move to his coat. And why should his log be put to use? To warm the idle rich. What he thought, why should I use my log, my stick to keep that rich person warm? If I use my stick, the rich person also will get the warmth. I don't want to help that rich person. Why? Because rich people, they are idle. They don't work. Idle means here lazy. Idleness means lazy rich. He is rich. He is not working. He is not as hardworking like we poor people are. Thinking all this, the poor man, he did not go forward to use his stick as firewood. The rich man just sat back and thought of wealth he had in store and keeping all that he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. The rich man just sat back and thought of wealth he had in store. So, he was sitting observing everyone and he was thinking of the wealth he had in his store. Whatever he had, collection or what treasure he had of wealth, he started thinking about his wealth, the treasure of wealth, and keeping all that he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. So, what he was keeping, what all he had was from the lazy, shiftless poor. So, what he thought, how he had earned from the poor people. He made them work. But what is he thinking here? That the poor people are lazy and shiftless. They don't move from one place to other. They are lazy to that extent. He thought like that, and he did not want to help the other people. He felt he is the only rich person there in that place. All the other are poor people. Why should I help these lazy, shiftless, poor people? So, even he did not use the stick he had in his hand. The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from his sight, for he saw in his stick of wood a chance to spite the white. So, what is the thinking of the black person here, the black man? The black man's face bespoke revenge, means he was showing the revenge in his face. Why? Because as the fire passed from his sight, means when the fire passed from his vision, his sight, for he saw in his stick of wood a chance to spite the white. So he thought, if he is using his wood, the white man, the white person will be helped. Now he wanted to hurt or annoy the white person. So what he thought, if I use the wood, I will be helping the white person. I will not use my wood and I will keep it for myself, so that I am not helping the white person. Okay. See the racism, the blind community love, or maybe the rich and poor discrimination. All these are leading problem. So after every while the fire was going down and the cold was getting more. They were suffocating, but still though they suffocate, they did not get the thought of helping the others or using their wood, because they thought if they use their wood, it was not only for them, the other people who were sitting there will also get the warmth. Having these thoughts, they did not use the stick. And the last man of this forlorn group did not accept for gain. Giving just to those who gave was how he played the game. So, the last man of this forlorn group. Forlorn means the lonely place. So, there was nobody else who would help this group or bring the firewood and keep them warm. It was a forlorn group. They were lonely there. Did not accept for gain. Not means here zero. Not means zero. Did not accept for gain. So, he thought, if I am gaining something, it should be only me. I should not help the other people. So, with that thought or thinking that it should be only me who is gaining or who is earning something here, the other people, if they get something from my firewood, it will be waste of my fire or my stick. So, even he did not wish to use the stick. Giving just to those who gave was how he played the game. So, what he thought, only I'll help those people who have helped me. I'll give something what I have only to those who have given me what they had. So, thinking this, being so mean, so narrowed, he did not use his stick. Their sticks held tight in death's stilled hands was proof enough to sin. They did not die from cold without, they died from cold within. Last 4 lines, it summarizes the poem. It tells what these people did. So here the poet tells that their sticks held tight in death's stilled hands. So where they were having the stick? In their hands. So death stilled. Their hands had become still after death. And what did they have in their hands which did not move or which was of a dead person? The sticks. So these sticks which they had, if they had used it, they would have not dead by now. As they did not use, they are dead, but still they have the stick. Was proof enough of sin. What is the sin they did? They did not help the others. They did not die from cold without. So, they did not die from the cold without, not from the outer cold, not because of the weather. Why did they die? They died from cold within. So, what is that cold they had? Envy, racism, community-based love or hatredness. All these are the cold they had within them. All this made them die. Okay. So, this is the poem, The Cold Within. Let us see the poetic devices used here. Rhyming scheme, as I told you, it is A, B, C, B. So, the second and fourth line, they rhyme. So, these two are different, but these two, they rhyme. Black, back and black. In every stanza, you can see that the second and fourth line, they rhyme. This is A, B, C, B rhyme. Next, the alliteration. The use of alliteration means the sound is repeated. Okay, it is the close repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of words to facilitate narration. So, like consonant sounds are repeated. Let us see some examples. Bleak, bitter. Okay, in bleak and bitter cold. For off faces round the fire, the F sound, F sound. Then personification. It is a figure of speech in which inanimate objects or abstract ideas are endowed with qualities of human beings. Death is personified in the poem in the line, their locks held tight in death's still hands. So here death is personified. So how it is to said that the death has hold them, the death is holding them in its still hand and they are dead having the stick in their hand. So here death is something which is not a living thing. So it is personified, telling that death has held them. Okay. So this is how personification is used in this poem. Then oxymoron. What is oxymoron? It is a figure of speech in which apparently contradictory terms appear in conjunction. So contradictory means opposite, which are opposite in meaning, they come together. That is known as oxymoron. Example is the last man of this forlorn group. See, the last man means it should be a big group, correct? The last man of the forlorn group. Okay, so it is a lonely group. Last man means there should be somebody, and the group means there are many people. Forlorn means lonely. So these are the contradictory words used in the poem. Next, we'll see the conclusion. Let us conclude the poem. People have to pay the price when they let their prejudices control their actions. Yes, definitely. They pay when they are prejudiced. Don't be prejudiced. It is common for people, but those who win over that, they lead a very happy and compassionate life. So here the poet is trying to tell that he or these 6 people, they were prejudiced. They did not want to help a white person or a poor person or a rich person. They had some prejudices in them which killed them. These prejudices make us insensitive towards other people and we tend to behave inhumanly. Yes, if they were sensitive, if they thought that maybe he is a black or a rich person or a poor person or he may not belong to my community, I should help that person because he is a human being. But nobody thought like this. All the 6 people, they did not think of helping the others. They became very insensitive and forgot humanity. We regard other people as inferior or hostile and lose compassion. We end up losing everything. So what we generally do, we regard other people as inferior to us. We feel we are greater or we think others are inferior or hostile. Like we treat them like enemies, somebody who is coming to fight with us. It is not everybody or every time somebody is coming to fight with us. Many times they come to share love or friendship also, but we do not understand what we feel. We are hostile and we lose compassion. We end up losing everything. We don't only lose compassion, we end up everything. Here in this poem, they ended their life itself. If they would have helped, if they would have compassionate, they would have lived. But why did they die? Because of these feelings. So this is all about the poem The Cold Within by James Patrick Kinney. Hope you have understood the poem well and you will not behave like these 6 people. Share your love, share friendship, share whatever you have and lead a happy and contented life. Wishing you good luck. Bidding bye. Thank you.